Sometimes you lease the land and you buy a home in a community, and next thing you know, you get one of these things. You just come back after a very difficult business trip, and you see the poverty south of the border, on the border of Mexico, south of Mexico, and south of the Canadian Peace Arch Park. And then you come home to one of these. Ownership change. And they promised me and my son and my daughter, we had a meeting with the manager of parkbridge.com. We were very, 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 very fortunate that God saw with my realtor one last house for sale on King George Highway Boulevard. It is currently a boulevard as of 2014, but I have lived on this boulevard, highway, and then it was changed in 2014 to boulevard, since 1986 Christmas. Now, we moved on a flat deck truck from a horrible, it was beside a funeral home on Boundary Road, I remember that, but the one side of Boundary Road and the other side of Boundary Road is like a border. It's like a divider between Port Coquitlam and Burnaby. Now, the farmer that owned all the land were the Bubbaches from Edmonton. And sooner or later there will be a big mall to look at when you're sitting in an apartment 3 stories high on the penthouse suite. The view changes as the day goes by, as the time goes by, with each decade, over and over and over. The world has grown, the world never stops turning, and now my retirement properties is up for expropriation. Now, the lease agreement was from the time of serving. The serving was Dawson and Sawyer at 604-349-1206. But the good people, promised people, whose lease to rent was signed by me, and me alone, and she put my daughter, who was employed back then, and then she put my son, and now I hear she left because of a tragedy in her family, and it was elaborated upon, which I didn't appreciate, learning that a sweet young mother with a child who suddenly decided to leave without saying, with further ado, I guess you could say. But that is the contact information. Apparently, Dawson and Sawyer, it is no longer parkbridge.com. We pay our lease agreement so that my real estate on top of the ground, in a month-to-month kind of deal, and therefore I'm giving my notice, since I received a pre-approval by none other than the Royal Bank of Canada. I just went in for the heck of it because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired and watching my children biting their nails, wondering where Mom is going to move us. I promised my children's father before he died, and they promised their father before he died that they would always listen to their mother until the time comes when they can take over my life and I will become their children's ancestor. God bless the people that are living in my community. I barely know anybody here. My lease expired at my old place at 8190 King George Highway. When I moved here at the end of January 2019, I was happy. But I'm still happy because the development company has a promissory note with me. Once they take over my life, my mind, my body, my soul, and my bank account. Sir, Mr. Sukh Dhaliwal, you're in this area, in the Surrey-Newton area, at 7790 King George Boulevard. Yes, we moved from 8190 south to 7790. Now, that was a very easy move. I've had my son's crane, which was an ICBC claim, and everybody pretty well knows me on the construction site next door at 8820, is it? I'm not too sure, but it used to belong to the Teachers Credit Union once upon a time in Surrey, SURREY.ca. Now, I feel because of that, I approached 8 decades on Mother's Day. I celebrated my 80th at the home of my favorite mother of many children in my clan on my mother's side. And she is a Skene. She was a Skene. She passed away at a young age, at the age of 69, in Orillia, Ontario, at the foot of the old Yonge Street, beside that river that runs through Orillia. She loved that little village, and my brother, Dale David Hopkins, born in 1926, took care of her, and she took care of him, and they had a big orange tabby cat. When my mother passed away, my dear young brother, younger than me, 1946, moved in across the road. I purchased an RV for him, and he lived there, and he used to greet me every morning. He'd run across the street as if he was a child, and I was a child in Ridgeway Public School. Before my brother, no, he's only 2 years younger than me. Well, I often compare him with Mr. Donald Trump, Trump. The H is silent. And my husband, Milorad, Milorad, was indeed a member of Josip Broz Tito's army. It was compulsory. What could he do? He educated all the girls and the boys, and he put them to work to become a partisan of the Third Balkan War? Why are people fighting all the time over land? Is it religion? Is it inclusive? I'm not racist. So he came to Canada where he would have a better future without racism. And he faced racism on the west coast of British Columbia, working with our Kuman Kuma, the godparents of my little baby, Bojana Topic. T-O-P-I-C, the H is silent. As Mr. Donald Trump will tell you, the H is silent. You just put little brackets on the H. Trump. It is a German version. Oh, here we go again. Is it 8 a.m.? That's the time I usually get up for work. No, it is not. That is the time I punch in at my workplace. And my workplace was Oak Creek. Good morning. This is Oak Creek in Port Kells, which is Surrey.ca. Yeah, the mailing address for Oak Creek is Surrey, SURREY.ca. North Surrey, to be exact. But I drove in that blue van that you see outside. One morning I was on my way to work and I cried because I was going to be late and I didn't want to get fired. But I did that for 20 years and that's how I was able to afford a new home plus the money I got from my old home. Together with my EI, I just scraped through, and I have a witness. My real estate agents, there were two of them. One who gave me the key and the other one who represented my family and me. So I have lived here since the lease expired at the old place on January the 31st, 2019. It is now the middle of September, which is my husband's birthday. And I want to go home to where it all began, when I myself took my first breath in the arms of my mother and father, and all my ancestors on my father's side and on my mother's side. I'm the second generation on my mother's side and the fifth or sixth generation on my daddy's side. And all their middle names were George. What does that tell you? It tells you that there must have been a royal family member by the name of George. Hey, King George. 1930, I do believe he was right on a horse carriage coming up to the pinnacle, which is the Wally Legion, to lay a wreath, lest we forget the king and the queen, that we are a monarchy here. And we have a government, and we are the government. We, the people, have spoken. And I'm a Can-Am kind of gal. I love politics, and I like to be happy. And isn't that cute? Lilo and Stitch. Now that's for children. 8 a.m., you put your hand in a machine, and it clocks and it sends it right over to Calgary head office. What do you call that? That's what you call honesty. Employees cannot lie to their boss, and you get paid by the hour. Now, when I left that company, my paycheck said $12 an hour for 8 hours a day. What did I earn? Was it enough to buy a new home? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You betcha. I pay my taxes. I pay my dues. Why wouldn't I? Why not? Canada is one of the better countries in the world. It's actually the best country. But we're good friends with Donald Trump. Mr. Donald Trump and his kind, beautiful wife, the model from Slovenia. But they were Roman Catholics. And as a matter of fact, as I recall, I married in the Our Lady Queen of Croatia in Toronto on AWDE Street. And I do believe, as I recall, surfing the internet. www.www. Go back home. E.T. go home. E.T. go home. Extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial. My children loved that until we had an arson house fire at 9th and Queens, and all heck broke loose when my youngest child was murdered by arson. That's what I think. But who knows? The good men in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and the FBI and the CIA and whatever else, the United Nations. India is one of our allies. Please teach our future generations what Sikhism really is. They're very kind. In fact, I was talking to a taxi driver from Pakistan, and they're so closely related. Nobody has a different Bible. They all say the same. They have different maybe rules of we can't get married or we can get married. Well, with the Serbian Protestants, they can get married, and the leader is called Reverend, not Your Highness. You know what I mean? But ciao. That means bye in Italian. I grew up on the streets of Toronto with my two little brothers and me. Didn't have a sister, so I adopted my cousin Catherine with a K. Thank you for your attention to this very urgent matter on behalf of me and all the other families that live at 7790 King George Boulevard, Surrey, SURREY.ca. Merci beaucoup. Bonne chance.